Billy, you so crazy.
Yo, what's cracking? What's bracking? It's your boy, Billy, you so crazy, and we back, and we back, and we back, and we back with another one. Y'all read the title, so you already know what I'm doing. We got top 10 scary Blues Clues theories. All right, I seen this video pop up, and I was like, yo, I have to do this. This is a TV show that your boy grew up on. All right, some of y'all children right now watch this. You know what I'm saying? And they ain't watching it with the OG Steve that I know. You know what I'm saying? They got somebody completely new, which that's cool. You know, it's cool. I get it. Times change. People get older and they can't keep playing the same roles that they've been playing their whole life. But I don't know how this is gonna make me view. You know, I got a daughter. She's around a certain age where I don't really know if she should be interested in Blue's Clues. It's a lot of stuff that she's into right now. One thing that I never thought that I would actually say that I would enjoy is the remake of the Alvin and the Chipmunks. Like, that used to be her stuff. And I seen it, I was just like, man, I'm not with this. Like, give me the OG Alvin and Chipmunks. And then I watched it and I was just like, you know what? After about 6 episodes, you become a fan. And it's the same with Doc McStuffins, Peppa Pig. Don't get me started with Peppa. You know what I'm saying? Peppa had my daughter walking around here talking about something. Daddy, cookie. Muddy puddles, daddy. It's like, girl, you ain't finna be playing no muddy puddles. What you talking about? But anyways, if you are new to this channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Comment down below what you want to see me react to next, and I have it up for you when I get the chance. Just be patient with me, all right? If you want it done quicker, I do have a Patreon link in the description, so feel free if you'd like to donate, help the channel out, all that good stuff, man. No pressure, no worries. You don't have to. That's only if you want to. But enough talking. Let's get straight into this.
Today, we are going to be following Blue's Clues to figure out the truth behind this children's show. And like all the show theories I've done on this channel, this one is equally as dark and has me rethinking my entire childhood. Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10 and welcome to today's video. I'm your host, Lindsay Ivan, and today I'm bringing you the top 10 scary Blue's Clues theories.
My whole life on
Blue's Clues, for those of you who have never watched the show, is about a man named Steve and his animated puppy, Blue. It follows kind of the same format as Dora, where Steve and Blue enlist in the audience's help to solve problems, and then they'll pause uncomfortably until the audience responds. Let's start off this countdown with the insane asylum.
Wait,
so Steve, he's pretty cool dude, you know. He wears that sick green shirt that, you know, he's always wearing. But
that's the OG Steve right there.
People theorize that he is actually mentally unstable and is locked inside of an insane asylum. Now, there are a lot.
See, this is where y'all about to have me tripping. This is where y'all about to have me tripping already. Now my man Steve is locked in an insane asylum. He made this up in his mind? They said the same thing about Pokemon, man. Ash was in a coma. What?
Of reasons to why people theorize this. So people think that Steve committed some sort of terrible crime that got him locked away, but it also made him regress back to his childhood state. Now, the characters that Steve interacts with are all imaginary, like the talking salt and pepper shaker or the bar of soap, and then yes, we have Blue. So he's just constantly talking to himself and imagining his surroundings. Now, Steve is shown to live inside of a house, but in reality, he only lives in one room in this institution. If you notice, in this room, when he moves room to room, his legs will be moving, but his position that we are viewing him from never changes. Why? Because he isn't actually moving between rooms. He's just staying in one room and imagining that he's in a house. If the insane asylum theory is correct, then this explains why all of his furniture is padded. And the mail time segment, notice how the mail comes into his room instead of him going outside to get it? It's just like a facility. Now, he does end up going into his backyard at times, but that's just the yard time that he gets at the institution. Moving on, in our 9th spot, we have the paranormal thriller. People have made another attempt to explain how Steve can talk to inanimate objects and cartoon dogs. I can solve it with just one line. It's a cartoon, but you know, that's not fun. So people have associated this with the house being haunted. This house is keeping him as a prisoner and forces him to interact with cursed talking objects. This also explains how he is able to move around by jumping through paintings. The paintings are clearly portals. And what homes have portals? Supernatural ones. Coming in at number 8, we have multiple insane Steves. Now, if the previously mentioned theory is correct, then people believe that there are more than just one insane Steve. So, recently the original Steve that we all know has been replaced by another Steve, this time by the name of Josh. In
What?
fact, the original Steve has been transferred to another facility because his symptoms were worsening. And then a new man was brought into Steve's room.
Come on,
now,
man.
in Steve's room, people believe that he drew Blue and his other imaginary friends with crayons all over the walls. Therefore, when the new dude came into his room, he was constantly surrounded by these drawings and took on Steve's old persona. Then he started imagining these characters as well. Now, the pattern of this is going to continue on. There are always going to be multiple Steves with the same delusions. In our 7th spot, we have Steve the babysitter. Okay. This theory is actually quite clever. So people theorize that Steve behaves the way that he does because he's just babysitting some kids. So when he is addressing the camera, he is actually talking directly to the kids that he is babysitting. That's why we see him playing a bunch of games and drawing. He's just educating the kids. And in the episodes, you can even hear the children respond to some of the questions that he asked them, further emphasizing that they are there with him. It also explains how Steve was able to afford to go to college when all we see is him at home playing games all day. He was actually just working, racking up the dough. But people then turned this theory darker and said that he is stuck babysitting children for eternity and there's no real escape for him. Or that he was babysitting evil children.
What?
So he has to be careful and make sure that he is constantly playing along and doing as the children want.
Okay, so then somebody needs to explain Blippi then. Cause when is he gonna grow up and go to college? Somebody needs to explain to me Blippi. My daughter loved watching Blippi. Couldn't it? All my parents out there, let me know if y'all know who Blippi is. Let me know if y'all know. I know y'all know who Blippi is. You don't even got it. I know you know. When he gonna grow up? That man already 30, probably 40. I don't even know how old he is, but I know he older than me. I know that.
In at number 6, we have the abusive family. Now, this theory sheds some light on the backstory of Steve. So, in one of the Blue's Clues episodes as a special, Steve's brother Joe talks about Blue and how she met Steve. So, basically, Joe claims that Steve was a lonely boy with no friends. I mean, that's already pretty sad for a children's show. But anyways, Steve would always read this book about Blue, a dog that was also very lonely. Every night, Steve wished that he could just have a friend. That was until Blue came out of Steve's book and came to life. Pretty messed up as it is, but of course people wanted to take this one step further.
I bet they did.
They believe that Steve and Joe had a fairly dark childhood. They think that they were abused and isolated by their family. This led them to be closed off socially. Steve created Blue as an escape from his abusive life. Steve eventually escaped when he was old enough to live on his own, but he still suffers from all the trauma that he was faced as a child, and that's why he always needs Blue to be by his side to help guide him and comfort him. We are now at our 5th and halfway spot with the brainwasher. Now, there's already a lot of controversy from people who believe that the government is trying to brainwash kids by inserting subliminal messages into children's games, toys, and shows. And apparently, Blue's Clues is guilty of this too. So people believe that Steve is in fact a member of the CIA. Like, wow. Geez, first Dora and now him? Like, who else is a secret agent? Maybe I am. Who knows? Anyways, they believe that Steve was an ex-CIA agent who specialized in subliminal messaging and manipulation. The government then hired Steve, altered his appearance so he looked more kid-friendly, and got him to be the host of this show. Steve then used this show as a way to brainwash kids. Moving on at number 4, we have Murderer Steve. So, Steve isn't the quirky, innocent dude we all made him out to be. In fact, people believe that his odd and childlike behavior may be a result from him murdering his family. That's right, Steve is a cold-blooded killer. So, this theory states that one day Steve just lost his mind and ended up murdering his family. After realizing what he had done, he was consumed with guilt. This led him to regress back to a safe time in his life, his childhood. There he copes through imagination and play. Now, whenever Steve is searching for the clues in the show, he is actually trying to piece together clues from his childhood to try and understand what caused him to snap and kill his parents. Okay, I honestly think that somebody needs to turn this into a movie, like maybe Memento 2 starring Steve.
That one might be a reach.
Coming in our 3rd spot, we have virtual reality therapy. Honestly, these theories are getting more and more creative and interesting. So this one says that whatever Steve is experiencing is actually from him playing a VR simulator. So people theorize that Steve...
They got Steve throwing up the set. Oh my gosh. Big B Steve? Big B Steve. What's bracking, Steve? Oh my God.
Actually suffers from brain damage. As a result, this simulator is some sort of therapy for him. Doctors use this simulator to teach him about everyday things since the brain damage has caused him to forget. This is why we see him pretending to walk to different places like you would do in virtual reality. It also explains why he's constantly finding clues and solving problems. It's all an attempt to help him recover.
I don't think that explains it.
The thinking chair was specifically designed to stimulate Steve's thought processes. Okay, I'm saying that's a pretty clever theory, not bad. In our second spot,
it's not bad, but it's also a reach.
Agoraphobia. Ever wonder why Steve is always in his house and rarely outside? I mean, it's probably just easier for the production company. Or it could be because Steve suffers from agoraphobia. Agoraphobia is basically anxiety from being out in public places or situations. So they believe that Steve is a real person that is too afraid to step foot outside of his home.
Oh, low-key, some of y'all think that I got that. Some of y'all think that I literally just be sitting in this room and I never leave. It's not the case, y'all. It's really not the case.
Just feel more comfortable in the constraints of his own home. But eventually Steve got bored of just living at home, so he decided to start making little educational videos for children. These videos give him something to do, distract him from his anxiety, and allows him to feel connected with the outside world. Eventually, children started getting bored and wanted to see him outside of his house. That's why in a couple of episodes he is seen in his backyard. But eventually the pressure to go out and do more got to Steve and he ended up just quitting the show. As a result, he was replaced. Steve continues to live his isolated life inside of his home. And in our final spot, we have the drug addict.
How did I not see that one coming?
Some people think that he's crazy, other people think that he's addicted to drugs.
How did I not see that coming? At least there's not like a, you know, some pedophilia or something in there.
So they use this theory to explain why Steve talks to so many inanimate objects. Well, it's because he is high as a kite on some sort of drug and he's hallucinating. So Steve is just constantly abusing drugs and going on trips. This also explains why his house is so colorful and unusual looking and why there is a pink and blue dog. In fact, seeing vivid colors is a common side effect of some hallucinogens. Also, some of the songs on Blue's Clues are quite questionable, but you see that Steve is right into it and loves them. Another sign that he's just really high.
That boy was an A1 artist.
So in reality, Steve is in his house staring at random objects like a bar of soap and just talking to it. Now, people also believe that the children's voices that we occasionally hear are actually Steve's neglected children.
What?
He's so addicted to drugs that he can't even care for his children. And lastly, he is so excited every time he gets mail for two reasons. A, it might be a welfare check that he plans to spend on more drugs, or B, it contains the drugs itself. And that's it for today's video. Let's move on to our comment shout out portion. I'll be shouting out comments from...
Alright. Shout out to the comment section portion of this, but we're just gonna go ahead and end that right there. Shout out to Most Amazing Top 10. You guys be sure to go subscribe to the channel, check them out. Some of these theories are reaching a little bit, but you know, I see how they can come up with some of these things. Some of you guys are creative. Like she said, y'all probably need to make a movie out of this. Like, oh, that would be dope to make like a scary movie out of all like children's shows. Oh man, now granted, it would have to be rated R, you know, because you can't just let any kids watch this, because you'll ruin these kids' childhoods, you know, you'll ruin these kids even wanting to watch the show. But if I want to see a producer or someone in Hollywood make a dope children horror movie, and let me not say children horror movie, but you know, like a children's story, and turn it into a horror movie, like y'all like to do all these remakes and reboots and stuff, like that it can somewhat be an original idea of just taking this children animated character and turning it into like the most horriblest, scariest, you know, it's just thrilling movie in general. All right, I got stuck for a minute, you know what I'm saying? Your boy couldn't figure out the words to save his life just now. All right, that means it's time for me to end this video. All right, if y'all enjoyed this reaction, give this video a thumbs up, comment down below trying to see me react to next, follow me on all my social media links are right there, send me a message on any one of those and I get back with you as soon as possible. I appreciate your guys' love and support. It's your boy Billy You So Crazy, and I'll see you on the next video, man. I'm out this stuff.